He wants me to throw it so bad. He's like, Dad, take it. Throw it for me. Milo. Milo. I got it. You ready? He's like, I'm not quite sure what to do. All right. Let's get started. Today is October 31st. It's 2 weeks. Two weeks since God brought her back through a miracle. Well, a year and 2 weeks. I don't know. It's just odd. Still dealing with that. Still looking back at all of the things that happened and just, my wife's organs just, she was in organ failure and, never mind. She's not in organ failure anymore. Everything's working fine now. And doctors shrugging. I don't know. I'm still dealing with that. You'd think by now I'd be used to it. But definitely not. Still bizarre. So it's 2 weeks, a year and 2 weeks since she was given back to us. And here I am. Now a year and 2 weeks later, talking about my time after she finally did pass. As always, I'm do my little intro. This is my faithful, introspective look at the grieving process, what happens to those that remain after losing a loved one to cancer, after being a primary caregiver for several years, and what it looks like moving forward. Because I have so wonderfully captured all of my notes and all of my feelings down on paper, because I'm a writer and that's just what I do. So the last time we talked, I think I left off, the entire last video was nothing but February 22nd. So today we get to talk about quite a few days. But before we do that, I want to draw everyone's attention. I mentioned this a video ago, so I'm going to talk about it. As promised, I've got hers up on the wall. They're the dogs chilling out, wanting me to play with the toy. Give me this. Ready? Go get it. But anyway, so yeah, that's hers. Mine on the left, hers on the right. And I don't know. I often wonder about what she would say about the llamas. I know exactly what she would say. She would be irritated on the surface level, but like she would honestly like find it cute and endearing. At least that's what she would tell me anyway. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I know my wife well enough. Of course it's true. All right. Back to the thing. My next journal entry picked up on February 24th, 2023. It was a Friday. I played games with my friends at that evening, Friday evening, and we had a good time. But it was bittersweet. It was the first time that we had gamed together since I quit entirely. Essentially, I was hosting a game, and Brittany and I were we were receiving treatments way back in the day, like right at the very beginning of our cancer journey. There was one drug that would work that had like a 30% success rate. It would 30% chance that it would function and 70% chance that it would fail. And after a few months of that, we received news that that treatment had quote unquote failed, and that we were no longer fighting cancer. We were living with cancer, surviving with cancer. So obviously that shocked us greatly, took the wind out of us, you could imagine. But one of the things that I did was, hey, I told my guys that I gamed with every Friday or every Tuesday or whatever it was, and I said, hey, I'm getting out the driver's seat. You know, I'm not doing this anymore. I love you guys to death, but I need to, things have shifted for me. I need to have my priorities a little more focused. So for the next year and a half, however long it was, I did not game with them. So this coming back to gaming with those guys was bittersweet. And it was, we had a great time. We had a wonderful time playing, but I don't know, just had all kinds of mixed feelings at that time. So, also on Friday, I need to talk about, or same day, I need to talk about Brittany a little bit. She absolutely hated to start a series, like a show on Netflix, if they were in the middle of filming it. So like, oh, they're on season 4, and is the show over yet? Well, no, she would not watch it. You would have to twist her arm 1,000 ways to get her to watch a show that was still being produced. She just couldn't do it. Unless the show had been around for like 10 years or something, in which case she would be, like, okay, it's fine, I can start watching. It'll be a while before I catch up. And hopefully by then I'll have a lot of input and I'll know a lot about the series and stuff like that. She won't feel left off. Because she was a binge watcher. She just like me, she would sit down and watch something and then that's it. Like, she would just zone out for an entire day. And I don't do that anymore. I just kind of don't. At least I haven't done it since she's passed. But I don't know. Maybe one day. We'll see. It's kind of irresponsible, but it's fun. So anyway, my dog, just normal. Yes, that sound is normal if you can hear it. Anyway, I had started watching The Chosen. It's for those of you that have never seen it, it is a dramatic retelling, fairly faithful retelling of Jesus's ministry, and very, very powerful, very, very good. We can argue about whether or not, like, oh, this is scripturally incorrect or that's scripturally incorrect, but or that's, dogmatically incorrect. You shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that. And what I really like about the show is that the creator, like, he goes on and says, look, like, I've prayerfully put my energy into this. and he's very upfront. He's like, this is what I'm attempting to do. And if this, and I understand if this is not for you, don't watch it. Like, and he's very, very upfront about that. So I do really appreciate that, because he kind of like, hey, yeah, there's some people that aren't going to jive with this, like even within the religious community. And that's okay. I'm doing what I feel that I need to do in the way that I need to do it. And if you don't like that, and if you think that it's wrong, like, that's okay. You can voice your opinion, and you don't have to watch it. So anyway, I'm rambling, but the point is, it's a really good show. Very, 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 very good. At least I thought so. And I wanted to get Brittany to watch it. Well, unfortunately, only the first 2 seasons had come out by the time she by the time she passed. But at a certain point in our journey, like, I started poking at her. I was like, baby, like, you've got to watch this. This is so good. And she's like, is it done yet? Is it finished being made? I'm like, no. And she's like, well, then I can't watch it. But she relented, and she absolutely loved the first season. We got halfway through the second season before she passed, which I think is... I think in some strange way, it's almost kind of comical, if I can say it. My wife passed in a situation in the middle of a show, which is something that she absolutely hated. She hated leaving things, having a show and not being able to watch the whole thing in one fell swoop, or with the show not being complete, or that kind of thing. So even though she passed and she never got to finish watching it, I can't help but laugh a little, because like, it was so good, and she really enjoyed it, and she really wanted to watch all of it, and she just couldn't. And she never made it. She never even made it to the end of the second season, which was already out. So she died in the middle of it, which, I don't know. Like I said, I find it kind of comical, and I kind of laugh about it. Not in any mean way, but just like, of course that would happen to you, babe. Of course that would happen to us. So, yeah. I can't make this up. So, anyway, all of this to say, I started watching again, because at a certain point, I quit watching because I was losing my wife. I was, I think she had maybe a month left to live, and I couldn't bear to watch this show anymore. And it was just too much hitting the nail on the head, too many times where it was just like, oh, like that's so, like, oh, it just stung to go through some of that, and to watch some of that, to have biblical truths that most Christians are familiar with, and having it on the screen, and then you have that sort of dramatic reenactment of it, so it hits that much harder, and you're walking through some of these very same things and stuff that's very poignant to fighting cancer, trying to live faithfully while doing it, and trying to just live that life. And I don't know. I had stopped watching it while we were in the last little bit, and of course she stopped watching it too, and then when she passed, and at this point I started watching again. All of this to say, I started watching again. I I picked the show back up, and you can imagine the tears, the emotional connection to it. But I think it was good for me to pick that back up, and I think that's a going trend in this, is to see me re-engaging with things that I liked, because ultimately, when I lost her, for years, my life had been what, you know, less and less Darren. Darren just kind of faded away. It was all, you know, make sure that my wife is okay. And so I think it's, if anything, it's just important to re-engage with those activities that you once found enjoyable, to literally rediscover who you are. Because let's face it, as a caregiver, me and Brittany often refer to our marriage as a 200% endeavor. I had to put forward 100% every day, and she had to put forward 100% every day to make a marriage work. And when one person can only put in 90%, then it's up to the other person to put in 110% to make sure the marriage works. And, you know, sometimes, you know, like, couples will separate because, you know, or they'll lose love for one another or whatever, and one partner pulls back and they're only giving like 50% to the relationship. In order for the marriage to survive, the other person's got to put in 150. So it becomes this very negative situation where one person is striving after the relationship and wants to make the relationship work, and the other person just is checking out. But it's not the same, but the emotional toll is the same for a caregiver. My wife could only give 70% some days. And then as time went on, it was 50. Then it was 30. And I wasn't going to check out. So I was giving 150, 170, 180, 190, all the way. And I'm not saying that to boost my own ego or to say how good of a person I am. I just did it because I loved her, you know? And whenever she was gone, so much of me had become taking care of Brittany. Imagine my surprise trying to realize, oh, I've got a life to live. In the beginning, I spent so much time on the couch waiting. And I realized that I was waiting to take care of Brittany. I was waiting to help her with the next thing. But there wasn't a next thing. There stopped being next things. There just wasn't. And that's a reality. The reality was she was no longer physically here, and my God-given responsibility to love my wife in sickness and in health, and to take care of her and to sacrifice for her, was no more. It was literally no more. And that meant that I had to find something to do with my life. I had to pick back up and keep going. And that's what I did. That's what this entire day was about. It was about reconnecting with my friends. It was about reconnecting with a show that I really enjoyed. And yeah, I had meant for this episode to be longer than one day. I had meant I've got a whole sheet full of notes. Instead, I covered just one little portion. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video here. Thank you guys for joining me, for following along. We'll see what tomorrow brings us.